Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of GGS. We just had a very heart-wrenching conversation with Gina and just having Asogi moments and Asogi feels. We are now heading back into the court right now to continue the next part of the court trial right now, and hopefully we shall be seeing Mr. Egg Benedict. And I will probably mess up his actual name a lot because I remember struggling with his name and I'll probably still have trouble with it now. I may actually have to pull out the book because I don't think the script was updated. Updated with his proper name yet. It's the same day, excuse me. Same day, 1:41 p.m., Old Bailey in the full court. Bravo, 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 bravo. As I've tried to find Egg Benedict in my art book with its very English translations. The trial of Gina Lestrade will now reconvene. Lord Von Zeeks, were you able to summon the witness? The subpoena to the telegraph office was able to be delivered without incident, but the carriage arrival seems to have been delayed by the rain. Understood. During the recess, I heard the details of the night of the murder from Detective Gregson. And we can all agree that the overlooking of this third bullet was a major blunder. Why, deepest apologies. But as for the proof created by the chemical that the defense presented, as it has no scientific basis, it cannot be accepted as evidence. Damn it! You'll regret making Holmesy and I your enemies. Your Honor! In response to the subpoena that was sent previously, the witness has just arrived at the courthouse. Understood. Escort him into the courtroom at once. Mr. Egg Benedict. I didn't think I'd be meeting him again like this. What's going on? Thank you for your prompt response to the subpoena. As a citizen of London, it's only natural. Now then, your name and occupation, please. Okay, Rupert Crogry? Crogry. I'm an engineer at the telegraph office.
We're the telegraph operators in charge of the correspondence in the heart of London.
So, what is this all about? I believe the bailiff explained it to you on your carriage ride over. Yes, it's true. Something to do with a murder that occurred at a pawn shop on Baker Street. And how I supposedly intruded at the scene of the crime on the night of the murder. Precisely. That is the accusation that was made. Laughable. Completely and totally. The court will now hear the witness's testimony about the accusations that have been leveled against you. This man. Yes, very well. With pleasure. It's probably gonna be covered in lies. About the accusations. It's true, I have been known to visit pawn shops. But to claim that I joined small-time crooks like these two and broke into the pawn shop on the night of the murder. Naturally, I have no intention of confessing to such an accusation. I was told that traces of my blood were found at the scene of the crime. But a suspect detective's suspect chemicals, that's no proof at all. What a slimy git. So you're claiming to be unrelated? It's shocking to think that a place such as a British court would put such stock in a detective's plaything. That was the juror's decision. The British court only decided to honor it. Well, this seems like quite a collection of unfortunate folks.
What?
So, how long must I humor you? If it is determined through this cross-examination that you are indeed unrelated to the murder, you may leave immediately. What a bother. Well, I might at least make it back in time for afternoon tea. Now, defense, your cross-examination. We meet again, Ed Benedict-san. You say your real name is Klogri-san. Pardon me, but who are you again? I'm defense attorney Naruhodo Ryunosuke. I introduced myself during our previous meeting. Rupert Claugre. Pleased to make your acquaintance. Anyway. What? Might we wrap this up quickly? Cool. Damn, that was cool. Alright, let's see what we're pressing here. Grab the stylus. Oh man, you should look at what it is in the the art book for his name is it's definitely a translation. Rubato Crogray, which is spelled R-U-B-A-T-O, and then his last name is C-H-R-O-G-R-A-Y. It's a thing of beauty. Anyway. Okay, what are we pressing on? On this stuff? Okay. It looks like we're not pressing everything, so. So, you've never seen those two before? Those two? No, I'm afraid I have no small-time crooks amongst my acquaintances. Wow. That's suspicious. Who was it, in the first place? Who leveled these ridiculous accusations against me? It was the defense. Utterly laughable. To allow a Japanese man to stand in the British court, how foolhardy. Anyway. Where were you on the night of the murder at around 1 a.m.? Who can say? Normally I'm fast asleep by that time. At the very least. I wasn't with these two. Well, can you prove that? Japanese boy, it seems that you're laboring under a major misunderstanding. What do you mean? This man says he was not at the crime scene. But he has no obligation to prove his alibi. You say he was there. And the burden of proof is on you, the accuser. Before you ask the witness pointless questions, be aware of what your own obligations are. Say something! He's not gonna tell you do da shit. There were unmistakable bloodstains left behind. These were examined using chemicals invented by Mr. Sherlock Holmes. However, I am not the only one with blood flowing through his body. How do you know that blood is mine? It might belong to one of these two. The makeup of each person's blood is slightly different. The chemicals invented by Mr. Holmes. Ridiculous. Who is this Holmes you speak of? He's a famous detective, known by everyone in London. You seem quite predictably embarrassed by the words famous detective. Now listen, famous detectives don't exist outside of fairy tales. Me? Is everything alright, Templar-san?
What do you want?
I meant the other Templar-san. Look, how many times do I have to say it before you understand? Yes, I know you're not their brother Uze. Nemi Templar-san.
What? What do you want?
Just now, I noticed you gazing at Kaogre-san, deep in thought. Care to share with us?
I don't know what you mean. It wasn't me. I wasn't gazing. It was him.
Nemi-san, please, answer me. What were you thinking as you gazed at Cloudgray-san?
No, really, it's nothing. Just... I couldn't help wondering if waving his arms around like that wouldn't reopen his wound.
Wound?
Well, think about it. He was shot in the arm just 2 days ago. So, I was worried about him.
How do you know that stuff if you don't know them? Cloudgray-san, did you hear that statement just now? Oh, what are you talking about? It seems that your accomplice is worried about you. And the wound in your arm. Your Honor. Yes, witness. These two can run their mouths, but I have no idea what they're talking about. Well, you're holding your arm, though! I have no obligation to testify about anyone other than myself. Someone was injured by a bullet at the scene of the crime 2 nights ago. Judging by the location of the bullet left behind, it's about the right height for that person to have been shot in the arm. If you wouldn't mind, could we have a look at your arm? The left one, which you're clutching right now. I refuse. So long as no clear evidence to link me with these thieves. Nemi just said he knows about your injury! I shouldn't have any obligation to submit myself to any such investigation. Anyway, this case, no. Even the victim's pawn shop has nothing to do with me. Your insinuations have no foundation whatsoever. You have nothing to do with Mr. Hatch's pawn shop, you say? Your Honor, could I have Cloudgray-san's last comment added to his testimony? Very well. We will now continue the cross-examination. Alright, witness? Yeah, you had nothing to do, alright. Anyway, I have absolutely nothing to do with the victim's pawn shop. Yeah, sure you don't. We have a picture of you showing that you were there. Nothing to do with it. But you were at the shop on the day of the murder. As I said, I sometimes browse pawn shops. Recently, I've been searching for a good armchair for my reading room. At that time, you were trying to withdraw a pawn item. Well, whatever do you mean? Gregson? A moment, please. Detective Gregson. Yes? You were at Hatchon's shop, too. Then too, weren't you, Detective? You're right. I remember running into you there that day. You and the legal aid lady and, the defendant. And when the witness, Mr. Cloudgray, tried to withdraw that pawn item. Hold on a minute there. Actually, I don't have a clear memory of what went on that day. What? What? How can that be? I can't talk about what I'm not sure of, so I can't testify. Jesus Christ, you two are awful! Gregson and Cloudgray. What's that supposed to mean?
But earlier, Gregson showed us that photo, right? The one taken by Holmesy's photo machine.
Oh, you're right. It does indeed show someone we can assume to be with this man. Excuse me. Exactly. There's no doubt that the witness was at Mr. Hatch's shop. Have I not already admitted as much? I browsed pawn shop and exchanged a few words with the shopkeep, and nothing more. Gregson, you know you're gonna get yourself in a lot of trouble because you're covering shit here. What's going on here? I can understand why Calgary is trying to hide things, but why is Detective Gregson trying to avoid testifying? So that's all there is to the testimony, huh?
What do you think, Naruto-kun?
It seems like he's trying to say as little as possible. If he keeps his statement brief, it'll be harder for me to find a snag in his testimony.
He's exactly the opposite of Holmesy, who chatters away and exposes all kinds of snags.
But I did manage to drag new information out of him somehow, thanks to those two standing beside him.
Yeah, looks that way.
He has nothing to do with that pawn shop, huh? That can't be true.
Anyway, why don't you stop by having a good hard look at the court record?
Okay, I never know what tiny scrap of information might end up being useful. Okay. We're pressing something else here. Court statement? Again? Yeah, the suspect chemicals. No proof at all. Let's press on it. But Mr. Sherlock Holmes is the most famous detective in the world. So if someone is the most famous in their field in the world, then they must be telling the truth? Well, of course. Crap, I really stepped in it this time. I once got the world's most famous fraud locked up in solitary. His words were nothing but a convincing-sounding load of rubbish. Well, as you know, the city telegraph office is responsible for all the nation's important communication information. I'd like to return as soon as possible, and continue to serve my country. Okay, well, if Gregson ain't gonna do it, let's try and present the music box disc. Yes, you did have something to do with that pawn shop. I believe you've seen this music box disc before. What of it? Until the day of the murder, this disc has been held at Mr. Hatch's shop as a pawn item, and the defendant, Gina-san, withdrew it. But suddenly, a certain someone swooped in from the side and tried to rip it from her hands. Naturally, that person was you, Cloud-Gray-san. As I've already said many times, that wasn't me. I've never even seen such a disc. On this disc, there's a drop of blood, albeit only a small one. It appears to be a thumbprint, as far as I can see. There are numerous bumps engraved on the metal on the surface of this disc. When this man attempted to steal the disc, he sliced his fingertip. As long as this disc has blood traces on it, there should be a cut on this man's finger. Ah, you're right. Cloud-Gray-san, you refused an examination of your arm, but perhaps you wouldn't mind showing us your fingertip. There ought to be a small cut, just large enough to have left this blood trace. It seems that I underestimated you. What? So you admit it then? That there is a cut on your finger from when you tried to steal the disc that day? Order! Order! Well, witness? You appear to have misunderstood. You say I tried to steal that disc, but that's not true. What do you mean? After all, that was originally mine. What is wrong with withdrawing one's own belonging? It would seem that this is the piece of evidence that tells the true story about this man and his connection to this case. The prosecution requests that you testify about this disc. Certainly, though I think it's fairly obvious that it has nothing to do with the murder. About the disc. The disc may say to Mango Doll on it, but it belongs to me. That day, my claim ticket was stolen by the defendant. So, I hurried over to the shop to try and reclaim it, but in the end, the disc was confiscated by the police. In other words, there was not a single reason for me to sneak into that shop. Wasn't there something he also said that was missing that he was looking for? Technically? One moment, please. By Mango Doll, could you be referring to the man who, 2 months ago, died mysteriously right after having received a not guilty verdict? Yes, that Mango Doll. Oh, what? Then, Mr. Calgary, does that mean you're an acquaintance of Mr. Mango Doll? Yes, I am. Order! I never would have imagined that I hear Mr. Mango Doll's name here again. According to Gina-san, on the night 2 months ago, she was ordered by Mango Doll himself to pawn this at Hatchan's shop.
But that Calgary guy says it's his.
Which must mean that his testimony is a lie. He came to the pawn shop in order to steal this item of the deceased Mango Doll. Now then, defense, begin your cross-examination. It's pressing. What do you mean when you say this is yours? As you can see, a telegraph operator makes a rather comfortable salary. Indeed, you certainly look well off. So, under normal circumstances, I would have no need for the services of a pawn shop, but just one time, I forgot my wallet at home and found myself in a bit of a tight situation while I was out and about without it. So, I left my high-quality black coat at that pawn shop. Your coat, you say? Obviously, and in the pocket of that coat was that music box disc which I had completely forgotten about. However, this disc has "To Mango Doll" written on it. I collect rare music box discs as a hobby. I met Mr. Mango Doll at the city's social fraternity, you see, and found out that he was also a music box enthusiast. So this is... Yes, it's a pre-commercial release sample version. I had promised Mr. Mango Doll that he could listen to it, but... You pawned the coat, forgetting that this was in the pocket. Look at this bullshit! That's precisely right.
Jeannie didn't testify about this coat in the trial 2 months ago, did she?
Right. She was threatened into silence by Mango Doll. So if we're going to pursue Calgary's testimony any further, I'll have to expose Gina-san's false testimony.
Oh, this is getting complicated.
Let's leave that alone for now. Oh shit, yeah, that's right. We will have to expose that. Oh, my health is back up too. I have my two badge thingies back again. Gina-san stole your claim ticket. That's right, even though I'm always careful when I walk through that area. But Gina-san didn't do that. I'm sure that she told you. Pickpocketing is a habitual crime, after all. That day, you were carrying some information about Gina-san. You came to Hatchan's shop in search of her, in order to get your hands on Mr. Mango Doll's disc. I object to the defense's arbitrary nonsense. Nonsense? Objection sustained. The defense will refrain from spreading baseless slander. Am I understood? Sorry, Naruto, you're gonna need proof. Yes, Your Honor. Now then, I will continue this pointless testimony. Have you ever been to Hatchan's shop before? Just the once, to pawn my coat, but I enjoy poking around in pawn shops. So you realize that the pickpocket has stolen your claim ticket, so you gave chase. Precisely. I didn't notice at all when she swiped it.
I headed for that shop before the pickpocket could withdraw my coat. I was only trying to claim what was rightfully mine. Damn it, he knows I don't have proof, so he's loading on the lies.
Yeah, it's getting really bad here. That was Detective Gregson, wasn't it?
Yes, it certainly was this detective here. All items connected to Mr. Mengadal were collected as evidence.
A moment, please. Detective Gregson.
Yes, what is it?
Did you have any thoughts about Claude-Gresson's testimony just now?
No, not particularly. Honestly, it's nothing.
Let me ask you this. Why is Scotland Yard collecting the late Cosney Mengadal's belongings?
Don't be daft. I can't tell you that.
Might it be a secret investigation, Detective Gregson?
That's right. You know about it too, right?
2 months ago, Cosney Mengadal, who perished under mysterious circumstances, was at the heart of a veritable hurricane of dark rumors, in spite of his status as star of the city.
Lord Von Zeeks, what are you trying to say?
Are the police still trying to clean up after the crimes he was involved in?
Please stop. We detectives have been sworn to absolute secrecy.
I see. So you were ordered by Chief Magistrate Hot Vortex, were you? You seem to place an awful lot of trust in Chief Magistrate Vortex.
Anyway, if you want any further information on me, you'll need Chief Magistrate Vortex permission.
What was that all about? There seems to be some tension between the detective and the prosecutor.
It seems we cannot ask the detective to divulge any further information. You may return to your testimony, witness.
Certainly. Maybe there was something valuable among the unredeemed pawn items.
No, there really wasn't.
Huh? An appraiser was dispatched by the police to look over all the items, but there was nothing of real value on that pawn shop's shelves. So then, the reason you showed up at the shop really must have been in an attempt to get your hands on the items left behind by the late Mr. Mengadal.
Oh, brother, you're quite a poor listener, aren't you? Well, even if that were the case, the disc had already been confiscated by the Yard and was no longer present in that shop. So, for all intents and purposes, there was no reason to break into that shop.
The late Mengadal's belongings were no longer present at Hachan's shop. Is that really the case?
Say, Narada-kun, if you got some evidence, let's not waste any time shoving it in his smug face, okay?
Mengadal pawned his coat with the disc still in his pocket, and when it started looking like he might be arrested for the murder on the omnibus, Mengadal gave the claim ticket for it to Gina-san.
I knew it! That man pretended to be innocent, but he was a big, fat liar.
And it sounds like the police have been chasing down the late Mengadal's possessions. That's why Detective Gregson ended up confiscating that disc.
But Greggy-san is being pretty mumbly and evasive.
There must be some sort of story behind all of this. Well, I've got to start by exposing Claude-Gresson's lies. Okay, I am presenting the claim ticket, but my Japanese is not that great. And it's the one that talks about a small box, and the thing is, I don't know which one that is, so, Godspeed on me. So what statement are we looking at? 1, 2, 5th statement. I'm gonna save just in case. And probably after this presenting of the thing, I will have to stop. That's the coat. Then it must be... Okay. I saw Koto on there, so I'm assuming this must be it. This disc was taken to the pawn shop at Mr. Mangadal's behest. You tried to get your hands on it. But that disc was confiscated by the detective. There was no need for him to sneak into the pawn shop again that night. I'm afraid that's not true. What? Mr. Mangadal had the pawn shop hold on to one other item for him. And this other claim ticket is the proof of that. Mr. Mangadal had that pawn shop hold 2 items for him. You snuck into the shop in order to steal that second item that he left behind when he died. With your 2 accomplices here. Second claim ticket. What on earth did Mangadal have pawned? The item is named only as a small box. A small box? That's awfully vague. You dare claim that I dragged these 2 along with me to break in and steal something as insignificant as a small box? It's certainly possible. Ludicrous. Why would I need to do such a thing? Once its holding period was up, it would become an unredeemed pawn item and be put up for sale at the shop's shelf. On the shop shelf. Ugh! I hate the sh sounds. I could have purchased it and that would have been the end of it. There was no need for me to steal it. Actually, he's got a point.
Indeed, that is true. So then, in other words, that Clogry guy needed the small box before the night was out, no matter the risk, maybe.
Your Honor, I think it's about time we clear this matter up.
Which one would that be, Lord Von Zeeks?
Unfortunately for the defense, the facts are clear. There was no small box stolen from the victim's pawn shop on the night of the murder. And I have evidence to prove that. Well, shit. Okay, of course he would. We're gonna stop here for now and look at what the evidence he has in the next video, because we are now out of time. So I will see you guys then.
As it has no scientific basis, it cannot be accepted as evidence. Damn it! You'll regret making Holmesy and I your enemies.
Your Honor! In response to the subpoena that was sent previously, the witness has just arrived at the courthouse.
Understood. Escort him into the courtroom at once.
Mr. Egg Benedict. I didn't think I'd be meeting him again like this. What's going on?
Thank you for your prompt response to the subpoena.
As a citizen of London, it's only natural.
Now then, your name and occupation, please.
Okay, Rupert Crogry? Crogry. I'm an engineer at the telegraph office.
We're the telegraph operators in charge of the correspondence in the heart of London.
So, what is this all about? I believe the bailiff explained it to you on your carriage ride over. Yes, it's true. Hey man, I'll probably still have trouble with it now. I may actually have to pull out the book because I don't think the script was updated. Updated with his proper name yet. It's the same day, excuse me. Same day, 1:41 p.m., Old Bailey in the full court. Bravo, 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 bravo! As I've tried to find Egg Benedict in my art book, with its very English translations.
The trial of Gina Lestrade will now reconvene. Lord Von Zeeks, were you able to summon the witness?
The subpoena to the telegraph office was able to be delivered without incident, but the carriage arrival seems to have been delayed by the rain.
Understood. During the recess, I heard the details of the night of the murder from Detective Gregson. And we can all agree that the overlooking of this third bullet was a major blunder.
Why, deepest apologies.
But as for the proof created by the chemical that the defense presented,
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of GGS. We just had a very heart-wrenching conversation with Gina and just having Asogi moments and Asogi feels. We are now heading back into the court right now to continue the next part of the court trial right now, and hopefully we shall be seeing Mr. Egg Benedict. And I will probably mess up his actual name a lot because I remember struggling with his name.